How to fix INP issue longer than 200 milliseconds for mobile or desktop. In this video session, I'm going to show you different approaches and share some tips and insights with you if your website is showing INP issue longer than 200 milliseconds in Google Search Console. So first, let's take a look at what this means. Interaction to next pane. What in the world does that mean? So, every website, every web page will have interaction points. Whether it is add to cart buttons, whether it is a web form, whether it's a menu structure. When someone clicks on certain elements on a web page, they interact with it. And the next pane, as in the Search Console complaining about INP issue longer than 200 milliseconds, means that Google has evaluated the interactions that people, as in visitors, are having on your website, and those interactions are taking too long. Let's press on F12 on this on our keyboard to bring out Web Developer Toolbar, because when you're fixing any Google Search Console issues, you should evaluate the mobile version, the desktop version. Basically, your website should work well across all devices. But let's imagine that we go into responsive mode here so that I can demonstrate what happens when someone clicks on this link here, which is a menu link. And that is the typical design element for websites when viewed on a mobile device. So let me press on it and let's close it. That's an interaction. If any interaction on the web page is, Google Search Console combines the interactions to say, you know what, you have different interactions, it's taking too long for the website visitor to interact with it. That means when someone clicks on an interaction, whether it's a play button for a video, whether it's a menu link, whether it's a send button on the contact form, whether it's add to cart, whether it's responsive menus and so on. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's taking too long, then Search Console will end up showing interaction to next pane issues. So how do you fix this? First, 2024, Google ranking world is changing. So you should be aware of that. That means Google is focusing on websites that are original, it provides useful content created for people, and also the usability of the website. And usability means when someone searches Google for whatever the keyword, they land on your website to find the information without going back to Google. That means the page should load fast. When people interact with the web page, they should have a smooth experience. So then, focusing on overall page load times will naturally improve INP issues. Makes sense? Because it doesn't matter what content management system that you're using, whether you're using WordPress, Shopify, Google Sites, Wix, it doesn't matter what it is. If you focus on the user experience, then the design element should be simple. Because the way the web pages load, they differ between different content management systems. You may have, let's say, 5 different style sheets. You may have 5 different JavaScript files to be loaded. So if you then focus on the overall page load times, it's going to improve everything else related to Core Web Vitals. So keep that in mind. That means the plugins that you're using, consider what they are they absolutely important? If so, then use it. But there are many different optimization techniques for a given website. You can group JavaScript files, you can group CSS files. So instead of calling 5 different files to download during a web page load times, you may perhaps group them into one so the page loads quicker. Now, at this moment, what I'm trying to relate to you is the fact that when you look at core web vital issues, whether it's INP issue, whether it's LCP, which is largest contentful paint issue, it all comes down to your web server being reliable, being efficient, fast enough, and the way that you're loading your web pages. Just imagine that, I'll actually show you because it makes sense to you this way. The home page here, I've actually optimized it in such way that the page, the home page, the front page itself loads extremely fast. And yet, core web vital issues are grouped. That means Google looks at different web pages and then groups them as to say, you know what? Your homepage may load fast, but your blog posts or your e-commerce section may load slow. So when you're analyzing core web vital issues, when you look at the example URLs, these are grouped as Search Console shows you on the right hand side. So you can copy sample URLs, you can copy the URL and you can go to PageSpeed Insights to run your test to further identify optimization areas. As we can see, the homepage of Rankia website is loading fast and there are no issues. Interaction to the next page, there is no problems here, it seems, right? And yet, the blog posts, which are heavy, they may have problems. As we can see, the performance is bad. Interaction to next page in this example will be this. I'll show you this example. This is a typical WordPress site. So let's go and analyze certain interaction. When someone hovers over this, that's an interaction. But that's rather fast, right? So there is no delay happening there. And yet, if someone was to click on this here, there is a delay. So now I can see that's the problem. Because everything else on this typical website is loading fast enough. As we saw on this URL here, right? So this is fast enough. In fact, this is as fast as a website can be in 2024 perhaps. And yet the blog posts are heavy in terms of there are multiple images, there is a video here, there is something else here, there is all these other things here, there is another image here. But since we're talking about INP issue, that's an interaction I need to focus on. Now I need to say to myself, it seems that this particular interaction is causing the problem. So let's go and press on it to see what happens. Let's press on it. Look what happened. That took rather a long time. And because I've designed this in a different manner, now someone has to click on this play button once again to play the video itself. And as you can see, that's a problem that I need to focus on. So what can I do? Because on this typical website that I'm showing you, it loads fast enough with everything else, right? So now I can say, okay, you know what? How can I load this interaction faster? I can say, you know what? Is there input interaction delays which can be set through JavaScript and so on? So what we can do is we can press on Performance tab using Web Developer Toolbar and conduct analysis, right? So let's do that. So now we're profiling the web page load times. Okay. Now here I end up seeing all this complex stuff. Now, if you do not have the technical skills, then you need to get a hold of a web developer who developed your website. Because fixing core web vital issues are often complex for most website owners, because we need to understand what's going on here. So now what we can do is we can further explore. Here we've got largest contentful pane, we've got other stuff and all that stuff, right? So what we can do is we can zoom in to certain areas, and here I can see further details about what's going on. We've got the main task here. The task on this example, it's taken so much time here. I can zoom in further, say, okay, how about this task here? So this is what we need to do. I can also bring that up more. So now I need to find out okay, interaction to first paint is the obviously interaction, but it also is the way the page loads itself. As we can see, we've got screenshots here. What does this mean? This means for this frame to load, certain things had to happen. Then for the next frame to load, certain things had to happen. For that interaction to occur, certain things had to happen. Make sense? So we need to identify what they are. And we can group JavaScript and all that stuff, right? So performance tab, you can analyze. Let's look at sources. Actually, let's look at network. This is a great opportunity for you to see what scripts are loaded, what style sheets are loaded. Here we've got, let's do something like this. What am I looking at? Let's look at a typical jQuery. Let me press on escape on my keyboard to bring out console and coverage. Let's refresh the page. Now we've looked at coverage. Here for this page to load, all these other things had to load itself. We've got a JavaScript here. What we can do, we can see here that the JavaScript here can be optimized further. I know it's getting, we're getting deeper and deeper, but at the end of the day, to be able to fix INP issues that are longer than 200 milliseconds, we need to identify the interaction itself that's taking too long and reduce the interaction time so it's less than 200 milliseconds. In this scenario, I know exactly what this is, and I know exactly what script is causing this. And that is, let's take a look. That is this one here. Okay. Which is an iframe. That's an embedded YouTube video. So what I can do at this moment and say to myself, okay, can I further optimize this JavaScript? Obviously I can, and I have to. And how can I do that? Let's take a look. That's 30% unused bytes still, which are these, but these are all needed. But there is a fade out here. Add fade out. So now I can say, can I remove that fade out? Because there is a fade out there, as we can see. I know this is just one example. Probably your website will be different. The interaction points on your website will be different. But one way or another, you can look at Performance tab. You can look at the Help section as to how to optimize interaction to next page. Basically, you need to identify tasks that are taking long by analyzing performance reports, by looking at, as in zooming in to certain areas to say, okay, when that particular area, which is the page load area, happens, what scripts are loaded, what tasks are taking too long, and you can look at the web developer toolbar to identify what they are. I'll show you. There's painting here. Okay. Elements. Okay, web developer toolbar, we're looking at elements here. As we can see, there was a key down. So that's an interaction that's coming from this script here. Can I further optimize this so it's loaded faster? Okay, so we can look at sources. As we can see, it takes us there. I can see that I can optimize certain elements here because the color-coded red is not used in this example. Then looking at elements, let's look at click. As we can see, there's a click happening here. Also, while here, let me show you the network tab. Let's look at that. Actually, let's look at network tab. Okay, that's coming from a different place on internet, so I can't optimize that. So looking at that particular JavaScript example, I can see from network tab, I can press on it, I can see what the file is, what initiated. As you can see, there was an image to be downloaded. So that fade effect with that image download is perhaps taking too long in this example. I can look at timing, content downloaded, this nano business here. You can use server timing API. You can use scripts to identify how long certain interactions take, and that is covered in the help section of Core Web Vitals. Okay, so I've tried to enlighten you in terms of how to fix certain Core Web Vital issues. First rule when speed optimizing any website is you look at the web hosting, because I can promise you, if you end up finding a great web host, then that actually will do wonders for most websites that are lacking performance. Next step, you need to evaluate the scripts and style sheets, group them, minimize them, and then you can optimize the JavaScript files in most scenarios and cases. All you need to do is identify the interaction points and ask yourself, are they taking too long? And if they are, obviously you need to focus on them and reduce them. I know that could be technical, but one way or another it has to be fixed, right? Interaction to next page is basically the way the page loads. Obviously, page load affects everything to do with Core Web Vitals, whether it's largest contentful paint, whether it's cumulative layout shift, first input delay, all this stuff, right? So when you optimize the entire website properly, then that should actually take care of many things. And then focusing on JavaScript optimization, which has been highlighted in free step-by-step SEO course by Rankia. So there is no one magic bullet to go into a website code to fix Core Web Vital issues. You need to look at it from a holistic point of view and optimize your website according to what Google wants. Now, since Rankia YouTube channel maintains Search Console tutorials, I'm actually creating a blog post that you may like to comment on if you're facing Core Web Vital issues as well, okay? And since this is the start of 2024, I've created SEO tutorials for 2024 that perhaps extends the freely available step-by-step SEO training course available on Rankia YouTube channel. Here I highlight what the focus on, as in the changes that Google is making. I thank you for learning with Rankia, and I'll talk with you in the next video session.